What is up, everyone? Mark here, and obviously I'm not in the kitchen today, but for today's Orange Vest Extra episode, I wanted to put together a list of tips and suggestions that I've had in the episodes and videos that I've done so far. So today we're going to do episode 1 of Just the Tips. Before we get to that, I want to thank all of you so much for watching the videos, for liking them, for subscribing, those of you who subscribed. If you haven't subscribed, click down below the red button or the watermark in the corner. If you're watching on Facebook, please go to youtube.com/markberm and subscribe to the channel. And all right, so the tips. I've actually got a directory down below in the description with time stamp links, so you can go right to the various things. But we've got a list of 12 to start with. If this is popular enough, then maybe we'll do this as an ongoing thing, just the tips series every so often. Just kind of a cumulative series of the tips that have been in the videos up until that point. So how periodically, how often we'll do it, I don't know. But here we go with just the tips. Always crack your eggs on a flat surface. If you crack your egg on the edge of a bowl, the edge is just going to drive right up into the shell like a knife and push little pieces in there and makes a mess. I like to break my eggs into a separate bowl or container before I put it in the recipe, just in case you never know you're going to get a bad one, or if you're going to get pieces of shell dropped in there, it's easier to deal with it in a bowl than it is when it's in with all of the rest of your ingredients. I'm a little obsessive and I clean as I go. I'm pretty sure I got that from my dad. Oh, yes. Basically, if you save about a walnut-sized piece of dough from whatever bread you make with yeast, then you can throw that into a bowl with a cup of flour and a cup of water, mix it, and give it 12, 24 hours to kind of do its yeasty thing. And this is what we ended up with. So then this just goes into the recipe in place of a cup of the liquid and a cup of the flour, because it's already in here. Instant yeast is not the same thing as active dry yeast. Instant yeast is the stuff that you can mix right into your recipe. It's dry, coarse stuff. Active dry yeast is the stuff that you have to put in warm water and let it do its thing first before you put it in. You can really use either one if you really had to, but you have to do it the right way. So this recipe calls for instant yeast. You would throw it right in. You just wouldn't want to take active dry yeast and throw it right in. It wouldn't really help you. Whenever we reheat a casserole like this, what I like to do is, otherwise it gets sort of liquidy and everything kind of falls into the part that's served, is wait for it to cool so that things kind of solidify a little bit more. It's not all as oozy. And then push it back and put a sort of a stopper in there, like a dam almost, out of aluminum foil. And because we had the leftover potatoes, I actually used that to fix the little bit of a gap where it didn't quite meet. So, good as new, and now this is dinner for tonight, and it's not slopped all over in the pan and all lopsided, and, Your oven built-in thermometer lies to you. I have 2 because they came in a 2-pack and they were cheap, and it tells me that they were, in fact, 350 on both sides. First thing we need to do is grease an 8x8 baking pan. Now, I keep a little nub of butter in the fridge wrapped up in a little plastic sandwich bag for this purpose. Just makes it easier to always have a little butter available to grease a pan without making a mess. And just make sure if you do this that you fold it back over and twist it closed when you're done so that it doesn't get funky tastes from the fridge. We could wait like an hour for these to cool, but I want brownies tonight. So I have a larger pan with some ice and water in it, And we're gonna just put one pan in the other. And of course, it just came out of a 350-degree oven, so it's gonna melt through some of the ice there. But we're gonna give this, I don't know, 10 minutes to cool. So one thing I wanted to point out before we continue is that shocking the brownies in ice water does indeed cool them very quickly, but it also stops carryover heat, carryover cooking. So whenever you take something out of a hot oven that's big or dense, you know, like brownies, it's got a lot of heat in it, and it's going to continue to cook from that heat while, you know, before it starts to cool and while it's cooling. When you cool something really quickly, like we did, we stopped it from cooking a little bit more. So, you know, I kind of lied when I said I took these out at 20 minutes. I took them out at 25 minutes because I knew that I was going to shock them in ice. And that would get me about the same chewiness that I would get if I'd let them cool naturally, but cooked them for 20 minutes. Actually not using beef broth, I'm using this Better Than Bouillon stuff. Super compact. I mean, it's concentrated, keep it in the fridge, lasts a year. I don't have to keep, you know, cartons of broth in the cabinet for no reason. Something that I actually like to do, just a little tip here, is if you have vegetables that you don't think are going to last, you don't know if you're going to use them in time, they're starting to go, carrots, celery, that sort of thing, cut them up, you know, prep them, throw them in a bag, throw them in the freezer. I do that, and I have, at any given time, you know, we've got some carrots from March, some celery, also from March. It's great for soups. It's great, you know, whenever you need carrots or celery and you don't have the fresh stuff. You know, it's helpful to have that stuff around. So I want to take some of the watery liquid. Put in a little cornstarch. And we just want to mix that with the hot liquid until it's well combined. This just helps avoid clumps of cornstarch versus dumping the cornstarch directly into the crock pot. And she goes. And we're just going to mix that around.